Salutations, fam. This is Arim from Haltessiagaming, and in today's video, it's gonna be a bit of a two-parter. One, I've got a deck profile that I took to an event, went undefeated with, pretty good. I won all of my matches, no draws. Um, but also, I wanted to kind of like speak about like tier zero formats and how I've always competed in them. As you may or may not know, I started playing the game back in 2002. I went to my first tournament in 2002. I started traveling to events in 2004. And we had our first Tier Zero format with like the Chaos Yaddle Lock. We've had a couple of Tier Zero formats over the course of the game. But the question is that if it's a tier zero format, does that mean you can only play one deck? No, it does not. But it does mean that that tier zero deck is what dictates the entire format. If you're going to be playing competitively, you have to be building for that deck and build around that deck. You know, you can't really focus on other decks because that is the sole dominating force of the format. Every deck that is being played competitively neither needs to be that deck or be able to counter that deck. So what does it mean when it comes to building a deck to counter the tier zero deck? Oh no, my headphone thing fell a little bit. Basically, in the context of a deck like tier, your deck needs to do something that inherently is going to be able to beat tier. For example, whether that be like flooding them out of the game, going first by like summoning a floodgate that counters, or playing a floodgate that like counters their main mechanic, or well, actually, that's one thing. You have to have something that like hinders them and like hits them, but you also want to be playing something that punishes them for playing the game the way they want to play the game. So in that context, I wanted to play a deck with something that was good against tier, but also, and this was the more important thing, was I wanted to play something that benefited off of getting cards milled. So that's why I decided, play Bystial Blue Eyes. I've been playing Dragon Link for most of this format. That's why I procrastinated so long to get this deck done, was because I just, I wanted to play Dragon Link because, Dragon Link's a deck as well that can benefit from being milled. If you want to see like my tournament winning deck, Dragon Link deck, just let me know in the comments. But with this deck, you have a lot of things that do benefit from being milled. You have the stones, you have Jet Dragon, and when it comes to like doing something that is harmful to tier, you have Blue Eye Spirit Dragon. Um, but yeah, without further ado, we'll go ahead and get into the deck profile. Um, and yeah, I'll just talk about like individual card choices as they come up. A lot of people have been saying like I can't wait to see the spice. The spice is that it's very very basic. There is like I guess one card that's in the deck that's kind of like spicy, but like for the most part it's a very basic list. I just realized I forgot to like zoom in. Let me see if I can do that now without like ruining. Oh dear. I think that'll be all right. All right, so to start things off, we have 2 copies of the vanilla, 2 copies of alternative, and 1 copy of jet. I zoomed in too far. I can't see anything now. Hold up. Let's. So there we go. Like right there. That right there is good. Just slide this over. So there we go. All right. So 2 vanilla, 2 alternative, and 1 copy of jet dragon. So right off the gate, there is one thing I would consider changing is cutting alternative down to 1 copy and playing a 2nd copy of Jet Dragon. But or maybe I just like cut one of the Chaos Dragons for a 2nd Jet Dragon. But there was a scenario where I had a 2nd alternative in deck, but I wanted to resolve a stone effect to summon a Blue Eyes from the deck. And I didn't have another Blue Eyes to summon because my Jet and like the Blue Eyes were already out of the deck. And so basically all I did was I banished the Stone of Ancients to like add the Blue Eyes back to hand, but like that's really all I was able to do. So yeah, this is the ratio that I played, but I want to play a 2nd Jet Dragon. And then we have the stones that I was playing 3 copies of the White Stone of Ancients and 2 copies of the White Stone of Legend. Again, the name of the game is you want to benefit off of your opponent milling your cards. And more like in depth, I want to play cards that if you draw them, they are good to see, but if you mill them, they're still good as well. Because I don't want to play stuff like Light Swarms, where it's like, oh yeah, that's good to mill, yeah, but Wolf really sucks to draw, stuff like that. These cards, if you draw them, they're good. If you mill them, they're good. And then these were the two Chaos Dragons I played. I played one Levianeer and one copy of Chaos Emperor. These didn't come up a single time actually. A lot of the stuff in the deck actually didn't end up coming up. Well, actually, I won't say a lot, but like these didn't come up a single time. Um, I mean, there was a game where I could have searched the Levianeer, but it ended up just being better to just like search another Bystial to like continue preventing my tier opponent from being able to play. But I still think they're too good not to play because there are melody targets, and probably will be scenarios where you do want to search them off of Magnamut. And then onto our spellcasters, we have 3 copies of Sage with Eyes of Blue and 3 copies of Dictator of D. Pretty much this deck is just Spirit Dragon Turbo. You want to summon Spirit Dragon, and that's the main thing you're doing. You're probably either going to like Spirit Dragon, Hieratic Seal, or IP, like some combination of that with like hand traps and back row. This is very much a mid-range deck. And that's the spellcasters, and then we have the Bystials that I was playing. I was playing 3 Magna, 3 Druid Worm, and 1 Saronir. I'm not playing Lubellion. I didn't really miss it at all. The main thing is just you want these to be able to counter tier, and that's like the main thing. Um, it's like, sure, you're a little bit more vulnerable to like exactly Mystic Mine, but like that's what the side deck is for. If you lose a game to Mystic Mine, you lose the game to Mystic Mine. I don't really want to build my deck around a tech that is not like super super common. If I were going to like a major event, I might play like one main deck out, right? Like maybe play like, I don't know, a Galaxy Cyclone in the main or something like that. I could see myself doing that. Or maybe actually, I probably play 2 main deck outs because you know how with the like beat cop thing, you do end up having to outmind like twice. But that's for the Bystial package that I played. I played 7 of them. And then lastly, well, I guess technically the Bystials are our hand traps too, but I'm playing 3 Effect Veiler because, these are all hand traps that don't care about chain blocking. And as you know, like Tier is very notorious for like building very, steep chain links. These are all cards that ignore chain links. And, obviously you have the benefit of Effect Veiler being searchable off of Sage as well. Moving on to the spells, 3 copies of Melody of the Awakening Dragon. This is another card that helps you put Blue Eyes on the board to make Spirit Dragon. As I mentioned earlier, it also searches Levianeer and Chaos Emperor. We have 2 copies of Return the Dragon Lord. This is another one of those cards that I decided to play that because it's good to draw, but it is also good to mill. There were a couple of games where my opponent would mill this, and I'd be able to push a little bit further because this would protect my monsters from being destroyed. Interesting thing about this card is that the condition to replace the destruction replacement, that is not an effect that activates, so you can actually do that under Dweller. Yeah. Then we have 3 copies of Forbidden Droplet, 1 copy of Called by the Grave. Droplet doesn't really feel super necessary against Tier because, their board isn't really like that crazy. You could definitely get away with like 1-for-1 negation against Tier with like Forbidden Chalice and like Imperm. But the reason I do want to like main this is because of stuff like Flu. I do want to have something. And at the end of the day, Droplet is still an extremely versatile card, being able to cut life points in half and things like, I mean, not life points in half. Whoa, could you imagine if Droplet cut people's life points in half? That would be insane. And then obviously Called By is Called By. And then the last 3 cards in the deck, this is probably the one spicy card I would say I was playing, and it is 3 copies of Breakthrough Skill. So this was, again, following the theme of cards that are good to draw, but also good to mill. If my Tier opponent goes first and they mill these for me, on my turn, I will be able to use this to like interact with them. And that's one of the things that I liked. But also, if you go first and you draw this, you can set this going first, and it's, basically a Fiendish Chain, an Imperm, whatever, right? It's a monster negate, but then, on your turn again, you can also still banish it from the grave to negate. So it's like, it's a nice little 2-for-1 negate that also benefits off of being milled. That's probably the only real spicy card that I'm playing. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It came up like almost every single game. It's actually what won me the event. Um, there was a scenario where I had made like a very big push. My opponent was low on life. And like the tier matches are always like really, really grindy. They tend to like drag out unless you like kill them immediately. There were a couple of games where I killed them really quick, but like every game where like they got to go first, it just like kind of dragged out because then I had to play through all of their stuff. And like they don't really kill you that quick, or at least they don't kill this deck really quick because you kind of just keep snowballing with them as well. Um, but basically what happened was I had returned the Dragon Lores. They shuffled it back with they shuffled back my stuff, but then they like milled more cards and they ended up putting it back in the grave. And basically I had used Spirit Dragon's effect to tag out into like Moonlight, and I used Return of the Dragon Lords to like protect my monsters from being destroyed. And basically what ended up happening was on my turn I was able to go switch Moonlight into attack position, attempt to enter battle to attack Sprite Elf for game. He goes activate Elf, target Merly, and I go chain breakthrough skill to negate the Sprite Elf, and then I hit him for game, and that's the end of the game. Um, but yeah, moving on to the extra deck. The main deck is 40 cards. Um, I really liked the deck list. Like I said, the only thing is I did wish I had like a second Jet Dragon. But aside from that, I really like the deck list. Like I said, I might cut like one of the Chaos Dragons in order to facilitate the second Jet Dragon. But aside from that, I liked everything about the deck list. And also in the extra deck, there is one thing that I kind of wish I played different, is that I wish I was playing a second copy of Blue Eye Spirit Dragon, because I did not summon the most of the cards in my extra deck. For the most part, I was always just making Spirit Dragon. I have like IP and Unicorn in there, but I like never made it. Um, I much rather would prefer to have like a second Spirit Dragon. There's like some more techie cards in here that I feel like I could probably cut, but I'm not sure what I'm going to end up cutting. Um, I don't know. So yeah, Spirit Dragon. I played Stardust, Spark Dragon, and Moonlight as my tag out targets. So obviously, like, you have the battle protection slash destruction protection off of Spark Dragon, but that's not the main reason you play this. The main reason you play this is because if you open Sage Melody, what you can do is you can make Spirit Dragon tag out for Spark Dragon, then Levianeer, revive the Spirit Dragon, and then overlay the Levianeer and the Spark Dragon for a rank 8, or link them off for a Hieratic Seal. So it just makes your potential turn one board a bit bigger. Yes, you lose the ability for the Spirit Dragon to tag out after that, but I'm gonna be real with you. I only used the tag out effect once in the event, and that was that play I made with Moonlight Dragon. Aside from that, I never actually ended up using it. And in that scenario where I ended up needing to use Spirit Dragon tag out into Moonlight, I could have made Hieratic Seal, but I forgot to make Hieratic Seal, and I just passed. And so it's like I would have had the bounce off of Hieratic Seal, so I wouldn't have needed to go into Moonlight. So it's just having just Spirit Dragon was strong enough. Um, yeah. And then we have my two Xyz monsters. I'm playing one Dingirsu and one copy of Wallow. I have to be honest with you, I didn't make either of these a single time. But I do think they're still really good utility and that they should still be played, but I personally never ended up making them. For the Link monsters, I wasn't playing Link Karibo. It came up exactly one game, but I would have lost that game anyway. My hand was very, very poor. So honestly, I don't really think Link Karibo is necessary. So Link monsters, I'm playing Relinquish Anima, Pisty, Dark Charmer, Light Charmer, 2 Seal, IP, Unicorn, Selene, and Access Code, and that's it. I didn't summon most of my monsters in my extra deck. Most of the time I was just going into either Hieratic Seal or like Spirit Dragon most of the time. and just like playing control with the blue eyes cards and like, you know, with the Bystials and things like that. A lot of times I would just have game on board because the Bystials are all 25, the blue eyes monsters are all 3K, and like Spirit Dragon's 25. So it's just very easy for you to just randomly have game. And a lot of times, like, I didn't want to like push for a game shot, I guess, because it's better. I felt it was better to just like maintain control because I didn't want to like play into something and then all of a sudden I've lost my control element because I tried to push for lethal instead of just maintaining control of the game. And the reality is that a lot of times you just end up with lethal on board anyway without needing to give up control of your, you know, board state and whatnot. Um, yeah, that's it for the extra deck. Like I said, it's very, very basic. There's not anything like crazy. No crazy spice. It's a very basic list. It's just, and this is one of the reasons that I personally have always like kind of like tier zero formats, is that they reward player skill. Um, every single game was decided by who played better. If there was a game where, like I said, like the one game where I almost lost to the tier player when I went first, it was because I made like a mistake and I, you know, didn't make the hieratic seal when I had an opportunity to. Because if I'd done that, I would have been able to stop them from playing because they would have activated the field spell and I would have been able to chain hieratic seal so it wouldn't have resolved. They wouldn't have been able to activate a second one. They wouldn't have been able to use that to get started playing. They wouldn't have that effect to be able to pop. Like there's so many different. They wouldn't have been able to like hit over my monsters. Like there's so many like snowball effects that came from me not making that one misplay. And it's like I like those kind of formats because they reward player skill. They reward the player who plays better for the majority of the game. But yeah, onto the side deck. We already know what the first card is. You know, it's one of my deck profiles, so it's obviously going to be Pankratops. And then I was playing one copy of Alpha, the Master of Beasts, as like kind of a second copy of Pankratops. This card, very, very good. Very, very good. Nah, nothing compares to Pank though. Like, I can't tell you how many games I just won off of having Pank evenly. Like, I had a game where I was like, special summon Pank, attempt to enter battle, go to battle, hit over something, Pank, force out something else, end the battle evenly, and it just like destroys the entire board. It's so powerful. And then we have three copies of Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood. Um, this card is like you have to have something to deal with here. Like I said, like a lot of these games go pretty long. In my finals match against Ishizu Tier, game one he went first. Game one was 27 minutes. Game two, the game I won, by the time the game two was won, there was only like 5 minutes left. Um, but I sided in Dogwood's game three. He sided in his stuff. And he goes, you can go first. I start to play. I normal summon Sage, activate effects. He goes chain Havness, and I go chain Dogwood, and he like mills Scattershot and like Ladybug, but I gained off the Havness. Oh man. And then two copies of Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill. A similar utility, but this actually has like a negation effect attached to it. I'm kind of mixed on this card. It's like sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. Moving on with the side, we have more blowout cards. We have Change of Heart, we have Feather Duster, three Cosmic Cyclone. I might swap these to Twin Twisters. I'm used to playing like other decks where I don't really like the discard, but this, I could probably afford to play Twin Twisters in this deck because I have so much stuff trying to put in the graveyard anyway. And then three copies of Evenly Matched to round out the side deck. But yeah, like the deck performed very, very well. I was very, very surprised by how well it performed. Um, yeah, I just to like kind of go in with this like little segment I'd like to include in my deck profiles. Um, these are your tech cards that you can side. Right? These are not part of your deck core. Most of the time, the Bystials are staying in because, you know, tier 0 format and all that. But going first, a lot of the time I would side out the droplets because, you know, I just want something that I'm not going to need to, like, break a board. One of the things I will say that I started doing, like, later on in the event was I started keep putting in these going first. Because I noticed that a lot of the times the games were going long enough that I might be able to like special a Pankratops, and like they'll be live in like later turns. They're not really going to be live turn one, but like I like having them in the deck as something that you can draw into in the late game and suddenly have that blowout card that completely shifts the game around, you know. But yeah, the deck performed very, very well. I very much enjoyed it. Um, but yeah, that's going to be it. This words are hard. This has been Arim from Haltessia Gaming. If you like this video, please leave a like, comment, share it with your friends. Please check out my description. I usually leave helpful links in there. I've got guides, playlists, all that good stuff. Thank you very much for watching, and have a wonderful day. This button never works, man.